I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with Lisa for about 5 years now. We met in college, hit it off pretty quick, and honestly, I thought we had a good thing going. She's smart, funny, confident, everything I thought I wanted in a wife. We were planning our wedding, everything seemed perfect. Or so I thought. The signs of trouble started subtly. She'd get a little defensive when I asked about her phone or her plans, but I chalked it up to her being busy or stressed. She'd suddenly be more bitchy than usual, snapping at me for no reason, calling me clingy if I tried to cuddle her or just sit close. But I didn't want to overthink it. We had our fights, sure, but nothing out of the ordinary. Then came the little things that didn't add up. Her phone started acting weird. She'd hide it when I came into the room, or she'd quickly lock it and turn away. She'd get texts late at night that she'd quickly delete or ignore when I asked about them. I told myself she was just busy, or maybe she was texting her friends. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The biggest red flag, though, was her sudden change in attitude toward sex. We used to be pretty passionate, but suddenly, she'd brush me off more often than not. If I tried to bring it up, she'd roll her eyes or give some bullshit excuse about being tired or stressed. I figured maybe she was just exhausted with wedding planning or work. Nothing made me think she was cheating, yet. Still, a part of me felt uneasy, like a scratch at the back of my mind that wouldn't go away. Then out of nowhere, I left for work early one morning. She was still asleep, or so I thought. I kissed her goodbye, told her I loved her, and headed out. That's when I saw the text. I was sitting in my office, staring at my phone, when a message popped up on her phone on the kitchen table, an incoming message from a number I didn't recognize. I hesitated for a second, then looked closer. It was from Matt, and the message was pretty explicit. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Been thinking about." Last time, my stomach sank. I didn't even have to guess what they were talking about. I'd seen enough. She's been cheating, I thought, but I wasn't ready to jump to conclusions just yet. I needed to see more. I picked up her phone, and what I found made me feel like I'd been punched in the gut. There were dozens of texts between her and Matt, flirty, suggestive, sometimes outright dirty. These weren't just innocent texts or friendly exchanges. They were the kind of messages that made it clear something was going on behind my back. I was furious, but mostly hurt. I'd always trusted her. I'd never thought Lisa would cheat, especially not with someone like Matt. He was her best friend's brother, a guy I'd even met a few times. We'd all hung out together, gone to barbecues, played golf. And she was sleeping with him, just days before our wedding. That realization hit me harder than anything else. How long had this been going on? Was I just blind, or had I ignored all the signs because I didn't want to believe it? I sat there for a long time, holding her phone, feeling everything collapse inside. The betrayal hit like a ton of bricks. I wanted to break down, scream, or maybe just run away. But I knew I had to confront her. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I needed answers. So I waited until she came home that night. When she saw my face, she immediately got defensive, started lying, saying she was tired, that the messages meant nothing, just friends catching up. But I wasn't buying it. Her words were full of bullshit, and I saw through her lies. She tried to deny everything, but her phone was evidence enough. The truth was out there, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. When I confronted her, Lisa's reaction was classic. She started playing the victim, like I was the one overreacting or imagining things. She looked right in my eyes and said, "You don't understand, Mike. Matt's just a friend. You're making a big deal out of nothing." Her voice was sharp, but I could see the flicker of guilt behind her eyes. She kept insisting that I was paranoid, that I was overthinking everything because I was stressed about the wedding and work. She even had the nerve to call me insecure, like her cheating was somehow my fault. I told her I found the texts, showed her the messages on her phone, and her face didn't even flinch. Instead, she rolled her eyes and huffed, "Oh, please, it's not what you think. Matt's just been going through a rough patch, and I was just trying to be there for him. It doesn't mean anything. We're just friends." That's when I lost it. I asked her how she could lie so easily, how she could sleep with my best friend just days before our wedding and think she'd get away with it. She looked at me like I was crazy, like I was the one who'd lost his mind. "You're overreacting," she snapped. "Matt and I never did anything serious. We just kissed once, maybe twice. It's not a big deal. You're the one making it into something it's not." Her tone was bitchy, dismissive, like she didn't even care that she just admitted to cheating. She kept insisting that I was jealous, insecure, and that I needed to get over myself. But I wasn't buying it. I felt like my world had just crumbled. My stomach was in knots, and a terrible mix of anger and sadness washed over me. How could she throw 5 years of our relationship away with a few texts and some weak excuses? I kept asking her how long she had been sleeping with Matt, if it had been ongoing, or if it was a one-time thing. She shrugged and said she didn't know, that it was just a stupid mistake, and she was sorry, but honestly, I didn't believe her anymore. The worst part was seeing how she lied so easily, like she'd rehearsed her story in her head, ready to deny everything. And the more she lied, the more I realized I was dealing with someone who could do this, who could betray me so coldly and then just dismiss it like it was nothing. I felt numb, like I was watching the whole thing from outside my body. How could she just wipe away 5 years with a few words? I thought about the wedding, the vows we'd made, and how she'd betrayed every single one of them. It took everything I had not to break down right there. I wanted to scream, to yell, to throw something. Instead, I just told her to leave. I couldn't stand being near her. I needed space to breathe, to think. She stormed out of the house, bitching about how I was overreacting, how I was hurting her feelings. That's when I knew she didn't care. She thought she could just lie her way out of this and keep living her life. But I wasn't stupid. Not anymore. In the aftermath, I just sat there, staring at the empty doorway where she'd just been. The house suddenly felt colder, emptier than it ever had before. Every little thing in that house reminded me of her. Her perfume, her favorite mug, the way she'd always laugh at her own jokes. All of it was tainted now. I couldn't wrap my head around how someone I trusted so blindly could be so manipulative and careless. I kept replaying the moments, trying to find some sign I missed, some warning I ignored. The emotional blow was overwhelming. I was furious at her, devastated that the woman I thought I knew could do something so cruel, and scared about what this meant for my future. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in the dark, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the ceiling, praying for some clarity but getting only chaos inside my head. I knew one thing for sure: my life had just changed forever. The next few days were a total nightmare. I couldn't focus on anything. Every time I thought about what she did, I felt this burning rage mixed with an incredible sense of loss. It was like my heart was being squeezed tightly, and the worst part was I wasn't even sure I wanted to stay married to her anymore. I kept asking myself how I had missed all the signs, how I had been blind to her lies. I started doubting everything: the good times, the promises, the future we'd talked about. All of it suddenly seemed like a lie, a carefully crafted illusion that shattered the second I saw those damn texts. She kept texting me, trying to apologize, trying to explain herself. She said she was confused, that she didn't mean to hurt me, that Matt was just a passing mistake. Her words sounded rehearsed, like she'd practiced them in front of a mirror. I didn't want to hear her bullshit anymore. Every time she called, I'd ignore it. And when she showed up at the door, I made sure I was never home. I needed space, but even that wasn't enough to stop the flood of emotions inside me. One thing I didn't expect was that her lies started to unravel even more. I started digging into her phone when she wasn't around, just to see if she'd slip up again. Honestly, I didn't want to do it, but I needed the truth, no matter how much it hurt. I found more messages, more pictures, even a few late-night calls. She'd been hiding all of it, lying about her whereabouts, saying she was at work or with her friends when she was really with Matt. It became clear she'd been living this double life for weeks, maybe longer. It was like I was slapped with the realization that I'd been living a lie, that everything I believed about her was fabricated. The betrayal cut so deep that I couldn't even get mad anymore. I just felt numb. How could she do this to me? How could she cheat on me, sleep with my best friend, and then lie so effortlessly? It was like she had no remorse, no conscience at all. I kept asking myself if I had missed the signs, if I was just an idiot for trusting her. All those nights I thought she was tired or stressed. I now knew she was with Matt, doing things she should have been doing with me. It's a sickening feeling, realizing you've been living a lie, and that the woman you loved has been betraying you right under your nose. After a few days of this chaos, I decided I needed to confront her again, but this time I was ready. I called her and told her to come over. When she arrived, she looked at me like I was some stranger. Her bitchy attitude was still there, but now it was tinged with a hint of fear. I told her I'd found everything, her texts, pictures, the secret calls. I told her I didn't want her excuses anymore. I wanted the truth, all of it, right then and there. She tried to deny everything, of course. She said, "It's not what it looks like, and you're overreacting." But I pulled out her phone and showed her the messages I'd saved. Her face went pale, and her whole act of innocence crumbled. She started crying, claiming she was sorry, that she never meant for it to happen, that she was just lonely and stupid. I looked at her, feeling my heart harden. How could she be so cold, so manipulative? She lied to my face, called me insecure, and then stared at me like I was the villain. In that moment, I realized I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. Furious at her, furious at myself for not seeing it sooner, furious that the woman I trusted had thrown everything away for some cheap sex with Matt. I told her she needed to leave, that I couldn't be around her anymore. I needed to think. She begged, pleaded, said she loved me, but I didn't believe her. Her tears didn't mean anything now. She broken me, and I knew I had to make a choice. Do I try to fix this mess, or do I walk away for good? That's when I decided I couldn't stay with someone who could lie so blatantly, who could sleep with my best friend and then act like it was nothing. I was done. That night I couldn't sleep. I just sat on the couch, staring at the wall, trying to process everything. The betrayal ran so deep it was like a wound that wouldn't heal. I kept thinking about how she had lied, manipulated, and dismissed everything I ever believed about us. The worst part was that I still loved her, or at least I thought I did. But now, love was a distant memory replaced by bitterness and a sick feeling in my stomach. I couldn't understand how someone I trusted so much could do something so cruel. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My head was pounding, my heart felt heavy. I knew I had to make some decisions. Do I try to save this mess, or do I cut my losses and move on? I decided I needed some space, to think without her manipulative face in front of me. I packed a bag and stayed at a friend's place for a couple of nights. The house felt empty, colder than ever. Every little thing reminded me of her. Her favorite candle, the way she'd always leave her shoes by the door, her voice. All of it was tainted now. While I was gone, I kept going over everything I'd uncovered. I couldn't shake the feeling that she'd been lying to me for weeks. I found more evidence, secret messages, flirtatious photos, plans to meet up. It was like dissecting a betrayal that kept peeling back layers. I wondered why she did it, how she could be so manipulative. I kept coming back to the same question. Was I just blind or dumb to miss all the signs? I also thought about Matt, that bastard. I couldn't believe he'd sleep with my wife, especially knowing she was about to marry me. How could he do that? Was he just as selfish and fucked up as her? Or was I naive for trusting my best friend? Every time I thought about it, my stomach churned. I'd known Matt for years, shared beers and laughs with him, and now I wondered what kind of man he was. Honestly, I didn't want to think about him anymore because it just made me angrier. A part of me wanted revenge. I'd never been a vengeful guy before, but this felt different. I wanted her to feel what I felt: betrayed, humiliated, broken. I wanted her to see that her lies had consequences. I started thinking about ways to make her regret what she did, how to make her see the damage she'd caused. But at the same time, I knew deep down that revenge wouldn't fix what she'd destroyed. It wouldn't bring me peace, only more pain. Still, the thought of her being exposed, of her losing everything, gave me some twisted comfort. While I was trying to figure out what to do next, she called again, this time more desperate. She begged me to forgive her, said she was sorry, that she loved me and that she'd change. I listened to her cry on the phone, and part of me wanted to believe her, but the other part knew better. I'd seen her true face now, and I couldn't unsee it. I told her that I needed time, that I wasn't ready to talk, and that she had to leave me alone for a while. That was the last I heard from her that day. The days blurred into each other. I kept questioning whether I should fight for us or just walk away. Deep down, I knew I couldn't trust her anymore, not after all this. The thought Staying, of pretending everything was okay, made me feel sick. I realized I was angry at myself for not seeing it sooner, for trusting her blindly. But I was also angry at her, at Matt, at how everything turned out. I'd been living a lie, and now I had to decide what my next move was going to be. In that silence, I started to understand one thing. I had to choose between holding on to the betrayal and moving forward. I knew I deserved better, even if it meant starting over alone. It was a hard, bitter lesson, but one I'd have to live with. I learned that sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. And no matter how much I loved her, I couldn't let her destroy what little faith I had left. It was time to take control of my life and figure out how to pick up the pieces. After those few days of intense reflection and loneliness, I finally decided I had to do something definitive. Staying in limbo was killing me, and I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. The betrayal had cut too deep, and I had to face the reality that my relationship with Lisa was over. I felt a strange mix of relief and heartache. Relief because I finally saw the truth, heartache because I genuinely loved her, or at least I thought I did. But love doesn't survive when it's built on lies and betrayal. I called her that evening and told her I wanted her to come over so we could talk face to face. When she arrived, she looked desperate, her eyes red from crying. She tried to apologize one more time, claiming she was sorry, that she'd never meant to hurt me so badly. She said she loved me and begged for another chance, that she'd end things with Matt, that she'd change and be the woman I deserved. But I wasn't buying her crocodile tears. I told her I appreciated her apologies, but I couldn't forgive her, not after everything I'd found out. I told her I needed some space and that I wanted her to leave for good. She slammed her hands on the table, calling me a heartless bastard, and accused me of not understanding her feelings. She said she was stressed, confused, and that she didn't know what she wanted anymore. Her words were full of bullshit, and I knew she was just trying to manipulate me again. I told her that I didn't want to hear her excuses, that I'd given her enough chances, and that I was done. That's when she started crying in earnest, trying to guilt-trip me into giving her another shot. It was pathetic, really. I felt like a shell of myself, but I knew I had to stand firm. I told her to pack her things and leave. I didn't want her near me anymore. She tried to argue, saying she loved me, that she'd do anything to fix this, but I cut her off. I said I needed to think about everything, and I didn't want her in my life anymore. She looked at me with pure disdain, sneering that I was making a mistake, that I was too blind to see what was really important. But honestly, I didn't care. My mind was made up. Once she left, I was left with an overwhelming silence. The house felt emptier than ever, full of memories I now knew were lies. I felt a strange sense of clarity, like I'd been walking around in a fog and finally stepped out into the sunlight. It hurt, yeah, but I knew I had made the right choice. I was going to start over, rebuild myself, and move on from this betrayal. I realized that I deserved honesty, loyalty, and respect, things Lisa had clearly thrown away. In the days that followed, I started tearing down all the pictures of us, all the things that reminded me of the woman I'd loved. It was painful but necessary. I also reached out to some friends and told them everything. Their support was a lifeline. They reminded me that I wasn't to blame, that people like Lisa could be manipulative and selfish, and that I'd find someone who truly valued me one day. For the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope, even if it was buried deep beneath the pain. Looking back, I realize this has been one of the toughest experiences of my life. Learning that the woman I trusted with my future could sleep with my best friend just days before our wedding shattered my belief in everything. But I also learned I'm stronger than I thought. I'm not perfect, and I made mistakes trusting her blindly, but now I know better. I know that sometimes you have to lose everything to truly see the truth, and that no betrayal can keep you down forever if you're willing to rebuild. I'm still healing, but I'm moving forward, cautious but hopeful. And honestly, I'm better off without her. It's been a few weeks since I kicked her out and cut all ties. Honestly, I feel like I'm starting to breathe again, even though the pain still lingers underneath. The house is quieter, less cluttered with her stuff, and surprisingly, I don't wake up every morning feeling like I've been hit by a truck anymore. There's this strange sense of relief that I didn't think I'd find again after everything. I won't lie, trust is shot for now. It's hard to believe in anyone after being betrayed so deeply, but I'm learning to piece myself back together. I've realized some important things through all of this. First, love isn't enough when someone is willing to lie and cheat. Trust is the foundation of any real relationship, and once that's broken, it's almost impossible to rebuild. Second, I learned that people reveal their true colors when they think no one's watching. Lisa's manipulation, her lies, her callousness, they all came out in the end. And third, I learned that I am resilient. I was broken, angry, and hurt, but I'm still standing. I'm still trying to put the pieces back together, even if they don't fit quite the same way anymore. I've started focusing on myself. I got a new job, reconnected with old friends, and even picked up hobbies I dropped years ago. I don't want to be the guy who's defined by betrayal. I want to be the guy who learns from it. I know I'll need time, maybe a long time, to trust again, but I'm open to future love when I'm ready. For now, I'm just trying to heal piece by piece. Looking back, I wish I could say I learned a specific lesson, but honestly, I think the biggest thing is just to trust your instincts. Don't ignore the signs, no matter how small they seem. If something feels off, it probably is. And never let anyone manipulate you into silence or acceptance. Your feelings are valid, and you deserve honesty and respect. If you're in a relationship and things start feeling wrong, don't brush it off. Face it head on, even if it hurts. Because in the end, the truth is better than a lie, and living your truth is what really matters. So yeah, that's my story. Betrayal is a terrible thing, but it taught me a lot about myself, my strength, my limits, and what I want from life moving forward. I don't regret what happened, because even in the worst moments, I learned to stand up for myself. And for anyone out there dealing with something similar, just remember, you're stronger than you think. Trust your gut, protect your heart, and never let anyone make you feel less than you are. You'll get through it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually you will find your way back to happiness.